Well, thank you all for joining and looking at our report archive webinar. Bill is going to run through this with you, but there is a Q&A section that you can click on to ask questions throughout. And as we have time, we'll be able to answer them. And if we don't, we can answer them at the end, or if it needs further discussion, we definitely can reach out to you after as well. So you will be recorded just because we want to record this webinar and then be able to shoot it out to you for future reference, and then our other clients that we have as well. So again, you can click that Q&A link if you have questions, and we'll look at them as we go. Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. I know a lot of you, but my name is Bill Cass. I've been with Simco for, a little over, coming up on 7 years, and in this role for about a year. And we hear a lot of feedback from our clients that they'd love to see, kind of a little bit more about the reporting, what is available, how to utilize it, how to better utilize it. So that's the goal of today. So I'm on the report archive, but I'm actually going to start somewhere else that I've really found very handy, and I've been starting to tell people about. So anytime you're on a screen, oh, and just the other thing to get out of the way, this is my demo site. So if any numbers don't make sense when I'm pulling reports and showing you things, that's okay. It'll make sense in your own profiles. But so anytime you're in a menu item where you can see all your employees, you actually have the ability to pull an Excel spreadsheet report of all that information, which is customizable. So there's two buttons up here on the right top underneath the black status bar. The left one is to actually export it into Excel, and the right one is a field chooser. So if I click that, I can, either add or remove items from this report I'm about to make. So let's say I didn't need the legal name because it's my company. I know that. But I wanted to see, hire dates. And I wanted to see, I could see social security numbers, masked or unmasked. Jobs, employment category, that's another good one, full-time, part-time. And then when you have that, you can go and click this export all data. It'll ask you, just like normal, a download. And then what that will give you, pull it over, is an editable Excel spreadsheet that is all that information you just requested. So anytime you need really quick information, hire dates, birth dates, what division they're in, anytime you have those, you can just pop in here, utilize that, and you don't have to search for a report. So I find that very handy. And another cheat I like to do is if you type self into this search menu, I utilize the search menu all the time. This top one, self-service management, you can see here it's in employee admin tools, employee administration, self-service management. Now, in this case, in my demo site, I don't have any real employees, so I don't have any email addresses, but this would have everybody's email address and the last time they logged in. So that's a really quick way to get people's email addresses, is the same way. Just pop this out and you'd have people's email addresses. So food for thought. All right, so one thing that we've covered, but I think it's worth covering again, is the payroll preview reports. So as you know, when you're going through payroll, you've got your salaried employees, you've got your hourly employees with hours here, all that kind of stuff. You know that when you go down to payroll or process payroll, you can click this preview button. Takes a few moments because it's a lot of data. So it is kind of formulating and making that data. But then you have these payroll preview reports. There are some that we highly recommend that you look at every payroll. And then there are others that, can be used by you when you want. Some of them I won't spend too much time on, but the payroll summary is your cash liabilities report, and then see the breakout of taxes and third party. Third party payments like garnishments, things like that. So this is one of the places where the numbers won't make sense, but that's okay. Again, a lot of data, so it does take a little bit to build, but you can see right here in the middle, total ACH debit, impound. This middle line is the amount of money that will be pulled out of your account after you process your payroll. So that's kind of the key number. And then again, it breaks down, where it comes from, all those types of things. We also recommend the payroll register, which is, your payroll details report just shows employee by employee, how, their pay rate, their gross, their taxes, all that kind of stuff. And then we do like to point out the payroll invoice just breaks down the charges for payroll or Simco. So that's just a line by line charge that you can preview. Not that we really try to make any errors, but it's good to police us too. But the one I wanted to spend a couple minutes on is this new employee and change audit. Especially, this is a good one to do anyways, just so you can kind of keep tabs on what's going on in the system via managers, employee self-service, any changes that go on. But with the increase in security breaches, hackers getting in, there's a lot of important information in here, and it's people's pay. So this report will tell you, at a quick glance, you can see on page 2 what, some of the changes were made. So there's a pay rate change. So for this employee, their pay rate went from $68,900 to $70,967. You can see this line, Nicole had an activated direct deposit and a deactivated direct deposit. Now, on the surface, seems logical. Got rid of one account, added one account. So if you want to follow up with that employee and say, hey, was this really you? It's up to you, but just something to monitor. But then this came to our attention. This one here, it's not on that second page. You can see it's a direct deposit, and all they did was change the account number and the routing number. I'm sorry, just the account number. So someone, if someone's sneaky and understands the system, they can come in and manipulate it, but you can catch it. So that's always great to be proactive with this new employee and change audit report. So wonderful report. And then under this payroll preview report, there's all sorts of other things you can take a look at, play around as you need. Again, can't stress it enough. If you go back in and change anything, change someone's hours, change someone's pay rate, change anything, just make sure you come back and click this preview button again to get updated payroll preview reports, or else it'll just be the same reports you just looked at. So now, under reporting, this top option is report archive. So what this is it's an archive of all the reports you've run in the system since inception. So you can see, you can manipulate the year, if depending on how long you've been using isolved for your payroll. Anyone that says complete regular payroll, and then it'll have numbers, is a payroll that was processed for you. Those of you that are going through the conversion status with us now, you'll actually see adjustment instead of regular payroll. That's just us loading the previous payroll data in there. You can still pull information from that. And then here you'll get your period begin dates, end dates, what day you ran the payroll, and what the pay date was. All of these will be drop downs. So you just click the little arrow. So when you first come into Report Archive, the most recent payroll will be open. One thing that took me experience to learn is if I scroll down and I wanted to look at the last payroll, I click this triangle and click the register. The sneaky part is that's still the most recent one. That didn't close this one. You have to go down to that one. So I've been caught with that, so I like to point that out. So the easy way to do that is just collapse the most recent, go to the one you want to. For the most part, these will be very similar reports to what were in the payroll preview reports. So you can go through and you see the summary. And again, these are after. So, if something changed, you can compare, kind of just double check everything that's going on. But there's lots of reports available to you. There are some reports that can be added to the archive or removed from the archive. So if you want to explore into that a little bit more, I'll show you a couple things in a moment. But just work with your HCM specialist and they can help kind of navigate that for you. Not all reports can do that, but some. So you always have every payroll available to you at any given time. Now with this client, with the client reports, this is all the reports that are available to you. If one of you ever look at every report in this system, I think we owe you a prize because there's over 300 available to you. So you can see just by this scroll, I mean, it's incredible. Look at all these employee reports that are available to you that you can just garner all sorts of information on. So, you can just come in here and look one by one. The keywords, again, keywords are excellent to use. So let's just say we did payroll, pretty vague search term in a payroll system. So you can see there's still a whole lot. But one of my favorites is the payroll register export. So if you go to payroll and I just typed reg filter, this payroll register by check type and payroll register by date range. The date range one is my favorite. This check type one is very convenient as well. But what you can do is this can give you data over any period of time, limited to a year. That's great for workers' comp reports, for any audits, if you want to see some year-to-date things really simply, or customized. I just want to see the last month or whatever the case may be. And then you can hone it in even more. So, you can put in a date and, to and from. You can choose. Now, for me, this example, there are two legal companies under this umbrella. Many people only have one, so you'll just see your company name, but just in case, you might see a couple. If you leave it blank, it will do all available options. So in this case, if I left it blank, it'll give me results for both of these test companies. You can search by employee. I should know some of these employees, but usually last name. And there's a Michael Jones. So I can just do a payroll details report for Michael over a period of time. So really excellent. You can do kind of sort bys. Do you want it by division, department, benefits, and then if you want to do first division, then benefit class, then department, you have all those abilities to play around. This part's really neat too. It gives you the option to include or not include hours worked, and it's just a radio button. And then it also includes your employer costs. So, any of your taxes paid, any of your contributions towards medical, dental, those types of things, and then workers' comp information as well. So I actually have a couple that I pulled that I wanted to show you. Oh, it's not there. There we go. All right. So this one here is the payroll register. I did it with the hours and the employer. Um, what's really neat about this is this first tab, check details, gives you a breakdown of every check. Then this employee date range totals gives you the whole summation into one per employee and then totals at the bottom. Now, a couple things I noticed when I was going through here is I noticed that, there's one guy that's getting a check. So I looked at that, but that's not the same amount as his net pay. So that was weird. So I looked into it, and he actually gets $200 put into his direct deposit at the end of each month. So, all right, that makes sense. And then he gets a check the rest of the time. We might have did that during training to understand. If you've got an employee that had something happen besides getting paid, so you can see Eric Chang, he has 0 gross pay, 0 hours. If you scroll, you'll see that there was actually a California tax on that employee from previous months. So you can see, if you expect those types of things, they'll be in there. Again, all the way to the right, you have, anything that says ER is your employer. So, taxes, this company of mine has quite a few states, so they start all the way back here. So, you can use quick Excel mathematical, like I want to add all the rows, for employers, I just hit equals sum here, and I'm going to get all employer costs. So I can see that during that time frame for that one employee, it was $5,800. So fully manipulatable. That's why I love this being an Excel spreadsheet. And again, you can look at an overall, or you can hone in on specific check dates if you were. And again, that's how I figured out for that one employee, that they have uh, that direct deposit every once in a while. It will also give you any third-party payments. So in this case, all I had was, one child support, it looks like, all the same reference number, etc. So one employee had child support, but if you have, you know, garnishments as well, everything would be here to recap. So this is a really excellent report. I utilize it quite a bit when working with clients, so do not be afraid to use that one. All right. I mentioned earlier the ease of getting kind of some quick employee information. There's of course reports with census. So you've got, if you're looking specifically for an employee, you've got the employee census by payroll run. Export means it's exported as a Excel spreadsheet, and then report, you can do it by a date range. I did some testing. I wanted to use my demo site to protect any private information. I ran these reports and it wasn't in there. Nothing was in there because of the way my demo site is. But play around with that. Play around with those employee census reports. They're really a lot of good information in there. So let me show you. Actually, I can at least show you the headers of what's on there. And anytime you pull a report and you're waiting for it to load, you just hit this refresh button until the blue view report. It'll download as usual. And I'll have to have this video edited because this one actually does have the information. It's another report I was going to skip. But anyways, so it's got quick information: name, date of birth, date of hire, if they had benefits, zip code, annual wages, if there was occupation in there. So, the census is something that you can very easily get, again, mostly for audits. That's usually the number one time, but you can do it for any reason. And then this is the one, if you're not utilizing this already, this is amazing and great, but there is, a client report for doing your PFL DBL report for your carrier, quarterly, monthly, yearly, whatever the case may be. Now, it does give you the option to just pull it by quarter. So I actually did go into an actual company and just mask their data, but I want to show you this report and what you can do with it. So what it's got here is it's going to spit out all the information you would need for, say, Shelter Point. That's who we see most often. I actually have an example of that as well. But you can see the only thing I always point out is, it says month 1, 2, 3. You just have to look at the quarter to know that's January, February, March, or if it says quarter 2, it's April, May, June. That's just something you have to keep your eyes on. So you'll notice what it does is it gives you the female, male, and total employee count. If anyone is in your system not marked as a male or female, or another option, non-binary, for example, then they'll be in this unspecified. Carriers are going to have to figure out and communicate to you how to account for anyone choosing those. But maybe someone just forgot to put in, I forgot to put in that I'm a male in there. You just reach out to me and say, hey, Bill, fix your employee information. I do it. This report spits it out great. This year-to-date capped wages is really important. That should sound familiar to all of you because of the PFL DBL invoice. But you'll notice that in this case, this is only quarter one. 295, 200, those are the same. So year-to-date total gross wages, year-to-date capped wages. Here, you'll notice that in quarter two, all the information's the same. They didn't hire or terminate anybody, but you'll notice year-to-date gross wages are about $3,000 more than capped wages. This system automatically calculates when someone hits their threshold and stops counting it for these year-to-date capped wages. So the example I pulled is for Shelter Point. And if you have Shelter Point and you're billed quarterly, this will look very familiar. So I just took the information from that report for quarter two and I plugged in all the numbers. This used to take, if you've ever done this manually, it is quite an undertaking. Now it's just, a couple calculations, multiplications here, and then you get your premium. You take that year-to-date capped wages and you multiply it by your PFL rate, and then you get your total. Beautiful. So easy. Now, some carriers have different, requirements, or they just want capped wages for quarter two, or whatever the case may be. Again, super simple. You've got, your second quarter year-to-date capped wages. You've got your first quarter year-to-date capped wages. So I just did this as a visual. So you've got quarter 2, quarter 1, you've got and by subtracting those, you just get your quarter 2. So 593 minus 295 is 297. Multiply that by the PFL rate, and you've got your PFL for that quarter. So you can do all sorts of things with that report or those reports. So it is, again, very wonderful. I have to find my cheat sheet. Okay. The other question we get quite often is regarding taxes. In former systems, some of you or other systems out there, some of you weren't able to get your quarterly tax forms. You now have direct access to that here in isolved. So if you come again to reporting, return archive, you can see up top here, it gives you the option to pick a quarter and a year. So in this case, again, it's my demo site. So nothing's been actually filed, but I think I have a cheat sheet. I do. So for an actual client, I just went in and pulled 2024 quarter 1. I wanted federal and state, so I just left that as all. And then I hit filter, and it gives me all the taxes that were filed. So your SUI, your unemployment, your 941 are right there in the middle. Those are the most popular ones. This is also known as the New York State 45, most popular one that people want to download and have. Accountants ask for it. Everybody asks for it. So you now have direct access to that. And again, quarter by quarter. Then, of course, you may need annual reports. So we would just go to this year-end report archive, and you'll see anything that was filed for your company in that calendar year. So if you were in isolved in 2023, this number would say 2023. At the end of this year, when everything is filed and W-2s are sent out, then this will say 2024 with all these. So again, I went into a client. Looks very similar. On the right-hand side, you've got just this rectangle button, which means view, and the arrow, down arrow, which means download. W-2 pressure seal is if you went all the way to the right and click that would be the W-2s that were mailed out to any employees. W-2C, if you had to have any W-2s corrected during the year, you could download those and have direct access at them. There's all sorts of reports in here that you may need access to if you have 1099s, anything like that. In this case, they didn't have 1099s, so there's no download. But you have all that information available to you at any given time. And then I just thought of something. If I go to, never mind. Never mind. That would go off on a long tangent. So those were kind of my highlights I wanted to focus on today. So Liz, if you don't mind kind of coming back online, were there anything in the Q&A? Is that good English?
Yep. So just one, and it's just a question about putting messages in at a payroll run. Like for instance, like if there's open enrollment messages you want to throw out there. So can you just show one where the notifications are for employees and how to add that? And then I'm not sure if there's any reporting items related to that.
Yeah, that wouldn't necessarily be in reference to any reports. One place you can do this, I have one client that really utilizes this, for example, just this week, ironically. So if you were to go into process payroll, right here, there's a check stub message, which would go to both check stubs and there it would go on their vouchers as well. And so she put, have a great Labor Day. So that can go out each payroll to your employees.
And that
And then,
message that you put there won't stick, right? It just is
no,
for that particular pay run.
good question. As soon as you process that payroll with this button, that disappears. So good question. Um, and then there is the ability to create and send messages. With that one, I recommend working directly with your HCM specialist. Since that's a pretty specific question, I don't know who wants to know that.
Sure, it was
And,
just Tara. But
oh, Tara, I'll work with you. I'm still helping you out with. I actually haven't gotten to you yet on that, so I got you. So anything else? Anyone else? I see one chat. I don't know if that's
it was the same thing.
okay. Okay. Um, well, that is what I was hoping to cover. Again, we're always available for anyone that needs to reach out directly to your HCM specialist, to me, anything you could possibly need. Yes, Liz.
Can you just highlight the reporting section again, please, for one?
Yes, which part? Which reporting section?
Just where it is, just on the
Okay.
menu side.
So, yeah, in your instance, we have a lot more menu items as administrators of kind of super users, if you will. Usually, reporting is all the way at the bottom where my customer service is, but I just popped it up. So, reporting, it just says it right there. And then once you click that, you'll get access to all these reports, all the menu items I had gone to. So yes. Now again, I mentioned it, but I'll say it. This search menu is wonderful. It's keyword specific. So sometimes it's super obvious. Sometimes it's not. But try it every once in a while. So I know I want to find my tax returns. So I start typing return, and I can see, okay, reporting return archive. Great, brings me right there. So that search in the menu is wonderful. But of course, as you're getting used to the system or trying to learn to navigate, always reach out to us. We're happy to help. Anything else come in, Liz?
One more. Can you just re-highlight the ones that we would like employers to look at each payroll run?
Yes, absolutely. So there's it during the payroll process. When you're in payroll process and you've hit the preview button, then this um, spot will open up. So again, this is a recommendation. You're welcome to do any and all of these that you want, but the most commonly asked for reports are your payroll summary, as an easy kind of equation with that one. That's your cash liabilities report. So that shows you how much is coming out of your bank. So that is right there. The payroll register is, let me pull. Actually, this is a preview. While I'm talking, I'll pull that. So the payroll register is just like sometimes called the payroll details report. It just gives you employee specific information. So I'll wait for that to load. Again, I more say this as a policing of the software. Payroll invoice shows you what we Simco are going to be pulling from your account, or actually it's included in the payroll summary liability, but it's how much we're charging. So just to double check, make sure there doesn't seem to be anything you weren't expecting. We like you to keep us honest. And then this new employee and change audit is the one that I showed you that had things like direct deposit changes, pay changes, address changes. All these things can be utilized in a number of different ways. if you notice if an employee changed their address and you weren't notified or you didn't know, but that should really get to the benefits carrier. Or maybe you've got a life insurance, whatever the case may be, there might be a reason for you to know that someone changed their address. Again, you can look for fraud, through that report, and just know what's kind of getting the temperature of your employees. So those are the ones I recommend: summary, register, new employee and change audit, and payroll invoice. Again, if you wanted to see retirement report, is simply what's going on with the 401k. If you want to look at that before you process payroll to make sure everybody who's supposed to be getting payroll deducted for the 401k is, great. Good way to do that. Vouchers would be everybody that's getting a direct deposit. You just want to review those for any reason whatsoever. Deductions, you want to go through and see who's being deducted for what. It's all right there. Now, again, all these reports will be available to you after you process payroll, in that payroll archive, or I'm sorry, report archive. So same reports are in here, or again, more in depth in that client reports, which is under reporting, client reports. That's how you find these 300 plus reports that are available to you. Now, going to the payroll, back to the payroll register. Like I said, it's just a breakdown of everybody in one place. So you see here, Keisha Brown, had gross of 3,400, net of 2,400. It was all direct deposited into this account, which means she did not have a check. It breaks down how much she got in a match for her 401k, how much her 401k she's deducted for medical, and then all the taxes. So it shows the taxable wages first, and then how much was paid in tax. And then key, anytime you see these, we don't like to throw you off. It will have, current pay, but then year to date pay. Sorry, I started that too early. Year to date. So if you ever saw on here, so this is just a pay in my demo site, but you saw, 107 hours and you didn't notice year to date, that might startle you. That's just year to date. So we've had that come up before. So how's that, Liz?
Yep. I would say the payroll register, probably one of the most important ones to run before you actually hit that submit button, submit and process, because you're going to catch anything you may have fat fingered in the grid or individual time entry section to catch something. Instead of 10 hours, maybe you put 100. So I'd say that's super important, because that's where I find issues happen, is you overtype something or miss something, or somebody has a zero check. So that one's super important.
100% agreed.
Yep. The next, more of a statement or question, is payroll register gives you cumulative figures for an insurance audit for a specific period of time. It does, but there are a other slew of messages, I'm sure, or reports, Bill will agree, that you can find that. So depending on your audit, if you could, because you're going to need it for a range, there's other reports in there.
Yeah. So if I can just jump on that, Liz. So I showed you that payroll register report that I could do a pay range for. You can see right here, this report type, it either says date range, as of, or by payroll run. So you actually, if you had a wide range, you needed 3 months or 4, whatever the case may be, then you want to find that report with the date range report type. And then you can put in, you can see here it's got from and to. So again, the one I have most experience with is that payroll register, which has all that pay info that you could ever possibly need. But if someone has, some specific stuff that they're looking for, we can help, find the report that will fit your need.
Anybody else have any other questions? But yep, just a statement about needing that for a workers' comp audit. So yeah, definitely. You'll see there is a payroll register by export report in there by date range. It comes in Excel formula, so you can like do your totals and everything else. So yes, that's super helpful. Takes very short amount of time.
I've gotten into the habit of saying this. So this goes for both people new in the software, but long. If you find yourself really struggling, and especially taking a step back, this thing has information. If you need it, you can probably get it. And if you're not finding it, we can help you. Because like, just like you say, Don, it can be taxing to do those workers' comp audits. But if we can help you produce a report, that's probably, in my opinion, the biggest reason Simco chose this software for our payroll system is because of the reporting. It is so robust and has so many customizations and abilities that it's been wonderful. Especially, I won't say anything bad about anybody, but especially from what I was used to have access to reporting, this is a lot better. So
I definitely don't like if you're spending more than 5 to 10-ish minutes looking for a report, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a call because we usually know where to check right away.
yeah, absolutely.
Anything
Okay.
else? Doesn't look like we have anything.
Last call. Oh, Dawn's typing. Oh, you're welcome, Beth. You're welcome, Dawn. Thank you. Well, thank you for attending. As we mentioned in the beginning, this recording will go out. So you always have reference back to it. And, if there's anything we can do to help you further, Amy, you're welcome. Just let us know. And I'll definitely be talking to some of you soon because we're still in the heat of these conversions. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.